Good morning, all my dear friends. Today we are going to understand a very important phenomena, that is diffusion. Friends, diffusion is very important to cells because it allows the cell to gain some of the useful substances for growth and energy and get rid of waste products. So now understand this passive transport in detail. Friends, diffusion is a net movement of anything, like any molecules, ions, atoms, or energy from the region of this high concentration to the region of this low concentration, so that the molecule get equally dispersed or equally spread out into this solution. So we can say that it is a net movement of anything from the region of high concentration to the region of low concentration. Okay, diffusion derives from the Latin word means diffundere, which means to spread out. Friends, what happens in diffusion? You can see we have put a dye into this solution. You can see after some time the molecules of this dye, which is red color, get equally dispersed into this solution, making the solution red in color. What will we observe in this diagram? We will observe that the solution which are in high concentration, they get spread out. These molecules spread out from this high concentration to this low concentration until these molecules get equally spread out into this solution. So it is a net movement of anything, any molecules or any ions from the high concentration to low concentration. Friends, this is in the beaker 1. You can see the high concentration of the dye molecules. In the second, after some time, what you will observe? The movement to low concentration, and in the third you can see the molecules get equally diffused. This is an equilibrium state where molecules get equally diffused. So in diffusion, what is going on? The molecules are moving from this high concentration until the equilibrium is achieved. So this is a state of equilibrium in which all the dye molecules get equally diffused into this solution. So this is a process of diffusion. Friends, we are understanding diffusion, so it's very important to understand what is concentration gradient. You know, the particles have moved from a region of high concentration to the region of low concentration. So there is difference in the concentration. This difference in the concentration is known as concentration gradient. Okay. So what factors are responsible for this diffusion? First factor is concentration gradient. Means if there is high concentration, if the particles are moving from high concentration, particles are moving to the low concentration. So concentration gradient is very important factor which is responsible for diffusion. Second is temperature. Friends, if we will increase the temperature, what will happen? If we will increase the temperature, the kinetic energy of the molecules get increased. So this process will occur early. So temperature plays a big role in the process of diffusion. And third is greater the surface area, the faster the diffusion. So now you will understand the factors which are responsible for diffusion. First, you can say the concentration gradient. Second is temperature, which increases the kinetic energy of the molecules. Number third, the greater the surface area, the faster the diffusion. You have already understood this, that in diffusion, the molecules are moving from high concentration to low concentration until the molecules are equally diffused into a solution. Now you can see some of the examples in our day-to-day life, that smell of a room freshener, perfume, or incense sticks that spreads in the room is an example of diffusion. Dipping tea bags in hot water is an example of diffusion. Dust particle or smoke which cause air pollution, which get diffuses into into air. It is an example of diffusion. And diffusion of waste products, salt and water in the kidneys. You can see the gas exchange in the lungs. O2 and CO2 exchange in the lungs is also an example of diffusion. Diffusion of gases. Breathing and taking oxygen into the body and diffuses into our blood. For example, we are taking oxygen and the high concentration of oxygen in the lungs, but in the blood you can see there is low concentration of oxygen. So what happens? The oxygen get diffused into the blood. And gas exchange in the lungs. Removal of waste substances and toxins from our body is also an example of diffusion. So this process is very important. It is a passive transport which does not require any kind of energy. So it is not an active transport. It is a form of passive transport. Some molecule simply diffuse through a cell membrane. Some gaseous molecules simply diffuse through a cell membrane. You can see in some unicellular organisms, simple diffusion can exchange molecules quickly because these are unicellular organisms, small organisms. So simple diffusion process is vital to these organisms. But in multicellular organisms, apart from diffusion, some which is a passive transport, some active transports are also required for diffusion of molecules. It's not like that with this simple diffusion the molecules get diffused in our body from one part to another part. Some ATP is also required, which we will study in active transport. So what we will observe that diffusion is a passive transport which does not require any kind of energy. It is a simple process in which the molecules get diffused from from extracellular part of a cell to the intracellular part of a cell. For example, molecules are simply diffusing. For example, gaseous molecules are simply diffusing from lungs to the blood. So diffusion is a very simple process in which a concentration gradient is required. Concentration gradient is important, means somewhere there is high concentration and somewhere there is low concentration. So molecule gets diffused from high concentration to low concentration. Temperature is also an important factor in diffusion. So we have understood that diffusion is an important process. Thank you and have a nice day.